been handed a double whammy, so to speak. They found a growth in his lung that they're going to have to remove. And they also found that he has a tumor on the brain, which they removed today. And according to what I got here on this email, it says that he was out of surgery at 4:25, and the surgery went very well. They got all the tumor. It was the size of an egg. And then he went back to recovery in ICU, and that's where he's at right now. He'll be at Abbott Northwestern for about 4 days, at which time they'll probably make some decision as to whether he can come back to St. Francis or Syracuse or wherever it is he was at. And that's where it's at right now. And so he is fully aware of what's going on and what needs to be done, but is not able to do much at the moment, obviously. So the city will have to carry on without him until he gets back. Councilman?
On this resolution about the vice mayor, I got a call from another ex-mayor today about this that had the same thoughts as Mr. Mayor about the consent agenda part of it. I could ask legal about this. Would it be proper to pass this resolution with a 30-day for 30 days?
Yeah.
To make it legal.
Well, Mayor and Council, two things. First thing about what occurred at the last meeting. Obviously, I wish I'd been at the last meeting. I'd have a better sense for what went on. There are two issues at the last meeting. One is your agenda, and I agree generally that you should stick to your agendas, and you shouldn't discuss items that aren't on your agenda. You certainly, at the beginning of the meeting, when you've got the item about approving the agenda, you have the ability to amend, to change, add, or subtract from your agenda. But once you have an agenda, you ought to stick to your agenda. That's one issue. I don't know how appointing the acting mayor came up on your agenda, but it doesn't matter to me. If everyone agrees, and everyone nodded their head a few minutes ago, that you voted unanimously to appoint Councilmember O'Laughlin as acting mayor, then that occurred. Whether or not it was properly added to the agenda, if the council voted to do that, that's what you did. So I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that you all understood that that's what you did. That said, council member, if you'd like to adopt this resolution temporarily, change it, in other words, to make it temporary, that's perfectly appropriate. You can do that. There's nothing legally suspect about that. The reason I'd like to see you put this in writing is because I believe that the acting mayor is going to need to eventually take actions for the city, and it may be useful to have that in writing. Pat or David may need to demonstrate to a bank or to somebody else that in fact the acting mayor is acting as the mayor, and have that in writing. So that's the reason I think you need to have that in writing. So I think Councilmember O'Laughlin is clearly the acting mayor. You voted on that at the last meeting. It would be useful for you to put that in writing. Whoever you're going to have acting mayor, put that in writing sooner than later.
Well, what happened is the first meeting in January, we turned down committee assignments. You were at that meeting. The second meeting in January, our mayor got sick, and he wasn't going to attend the meeting. And we didn't have anybody to open the meeting. So we kind of talked about it before we got to each other that week. And I come to the meeting, and here's Mr. Crick. His son brought him, and he came to the meeting. We had Mr. Murphy would have had to open the meeting, and then we would have had to make an appointment for a vice mayor to run the meeting. Well, I didn't get it on the agenda, and then I put it on the consent agenda because it was too late to put it on the agenda. That's what happened. Like Mr. Mager said, there wasn't There was no second for me to put it on there, because we don't do that. We allow council people, persons, to put things on the consent agenda. And then we vote on the consent agenda. Someone else can take it off. But it was voted 6-0. So maybe we should wait till have our workshop, and then we'll talk about it. It's just 2 days from now, right? Or
Thursday.
3 days.
That's the rules.
I think it'd be easier to talk about it at the workshop. And then we could change it or leave it at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing no other comments, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for that email today. I called her, I had a question about Carl Lynch. She sent me. Were you wondering about that? I bet you know my question.
Last time it ran for a while.
Okay. Don't say it.
She ran into the closed session. Pardon? Something. I mean, we aren't doing any meetings except this one. The first one. We had tonight thing. Oh.